So, Ikenna has very articulately introduced me to you today as Melissa, the gay rights activist who works in Kenya running some special hotline. And this is a truth, but it's not the whole truth. And so allow me to tell you why. You see, I am a natural left hand, left foot, and for some strange reason, being left-handed was completely discouraged and considered somehow wrong growing up. And so when I joined nursery school, there were 3 of us who were lefties, and we needed instant radical curing from this disease. So, as soon as possible, we would be detained during break time or recess in class, and our hands would be tied up to the little wooden backs of our chairs, and paper and crayon put in front of us, willing us to convert into right-handed. So I was about 3 or 4 years old at that time. Any lip got us had smacks with the corner edges of the teacher's ruler. So each time our hands would be tied up, I would quietly, stand up, untangle myself, and only then would I pick up the crayon to write, scribble, or draw. And then I would actually put out my hand for the expected smack and ask my teacher cockily, "Now can I go out and play?" It turns out I was a tougher nut to crack. So, my teacher actually stepped it up and invited a colleague of hers, and together they tied my hand down and sat there seething, waiting for me to convert into being a righty. And you know what? Even at that age, using my right hand didn't seem right to me. So I was like standing in this silence, seething, angry teachers, just wondering, why would they want me to do something or choose something that felt so unnatural and didn't come easy to me? Turns out that I was a little hardcore. I mean, really, my other classmates, they pretty much did what they were asked, and in no time they were fully converted righties, and of course had full access to the playground and recess. So anyway, for the remainder of the term, I was detained in class, and I wouldn't pick up the crayon if I couldn't untangle myself. The truth is, for me, I felt that we grew up having these tight little boxes. And I remember all kinds of boxes growing up. There were boxes like boys don't cry, good girls learn how to sit properly, girls don't climb trees. And I remember all kinds of boxes, even today. There's good girls don't wear lipstick, argumentative girls do not get husbands, good girls listen to what they're being told. The truth is, all these little neat boxes didn't seem right to me. It's pretty much like using my right hand. So much so, actually, I tended to be a little bit of a nuisance. Actually, I recall nostalgically my father with a click of irritation and a smile at his face at something I did or said, because I would always question. I would question instruction, I would question rules, I would question premises, question myself. In fact, it got so bad at some point when strangers came up to me and asked me, "So, who are you?" I'd say, I am a nuisance. You see, being queer it pushes you. It pushes you into this place where you have to constantly fight and push to be treated with dignity and respect. And over time, you get to do this almost unconsciously. And so I must admit that I struggled with the clarity on my activism because, you see, while my work and my passion placed me at the forefront of fighting for homophobia and transphobia and any other kind of phobia, I didn't actually want to get stuck in this box, this tight little box exclusively called LGBT. You see, I actually realized that the values and the principles of feminism mention that queer people and everyone else do not exist in a vacuum. And only then did I feel confident that by actually stepping away from mainstream LGBTI work, I wouldn't be negating the work of the queer rights movement. I'll tell you what, I also realized that the single most important source of power and oppression is the body. And in Kenya, the statistics are clear. Abortion and excessive bleeding after pregnancy are the lead causes of death among women and girls. And our maternal mortality rates are some of the world's highest. And 13,000 girls in high school drop out due to unplanned pregnancies. And 1 in 5 women have faced sexual violence in their lives. One of the ways that TICA actually decided to intervene on this is to set up a national hotline. We call it Ask Auntie Jane. Everyone has an Auntie Jane. So we set up a hotline called Ask Auntie Jane, and we offer no taboo comprehensive information in Kiswahili and in English. You see, at TICA, we realized that information is a potent currency to shift and transform power. And we think that the more people can access information, the more people can make good choices that affect their lives and their health positively. I know it's kind of ironic to be a queer woman running a pro-choice hotline. I get that. Over the years, though, we realized that a lot of the work that we were offering wasn't really focusing on trans and the intersex community on sexual and reproductive health. So to this end, we actually decided to partner with a Kenyan organization, a Kenyan trans and intersex organization called Jinsi Yangu. And now together we plan to launch a trans hotline later this year. You see, it's important. This is actually very significant because it shows you that we actually need to connect and join our work, because we then, if we don't do this, we risk we risk actually fitting into those neat, tight little boxes of conformism that I mentioned earlier on. And so far, we actually haven't heard of a trans hotline, unless someone here knows one, that offers sexual and reproductive health information. And this just goes to show you that some of the best ideas are homegrown. They actually come from the local rooted level. And it's important for me to say this because we have global allies and supporters who, want to actually lend a hand and do something. And it's important for them to actually realize that they need to take the lead of the human rights work already existing and happening on the ground, not in some meeting somewhere or some conference somewhere thousands of miles away. And so, you see, it isn't so ironic that a queer woman is actually running an abortion hotline. You see, I actually refuse to pin myself to one label. I am not just Melissa, the gay rights activist running some special hotline on sexual and reproductive health. I am actually a Pan-Africanist. I am a feminist. I am an avid photographer. I am the mother of a teenage son. I am the wife of a gorgeous woman. I am a left-handed person. And guess what? I also am a little bit of a nuisance. I'm really happy being here, and many of you have been so kind. I would actually like to take a moment to say thank you. Thank you to RNW and a lot of you here who've come specially for this occasion, and for you for waiting for me for a train. I couldn't run. I also want to take this moment to actually pay my respects to anyone who's had to suffer at the hands of homophobia or transphobia, and actually pay some tribute to those who have the courage to be themselves, no matter what. And as a queer African, I think it is only prudent for me to pay my respect and tribute to my comrades who are in Russia, in Ukraine, and in Turkey, who I miss seeing them here today, because as it turns out, they are actually facing some serious human rights crunches as their laws, their civil liberties have been legislated away by the day. And this actually brings me to an uncomfortable parting thought. I am, after all, a tiny bit of a nuisance. You see, I think it's important for us to not lay too much emphasis on homophobia and transphobia exclusively in the global south. You know, it has the risk of giving out the dangers of a single story. Rather, we need to actually remember and recognize that hate and intolerance, it has no boundaries, it has no borders. One of my favorite Nigerian authors talks about the dangers of a single story. Chimamanda Adichie, I think people should be knowing her. She says, I need to quote her, she's too awesome. The danger is not that a single story is untrue, but that it is not the entire truth. And we need to think about this because as a movement, we need to be critical of our politics, our ideas, our concepts, our misconceptions, and only then can we actually realistically hope to achieve freedom to exist and live with freedom and respect. Thank you.